Hi, my name's Graham Large, and today I'm going to start a series where I tell my story. Now, I've written a book that includes, as part of it, my story, but it hasn't been published yet, so I'm going to start reading from that book. I'll start at chapter 1, which is always a good place to start. And chapter 1 is entitled Curiosity, Millionaires Shortcake and Jesus. It amazes me that a good number of celebrities write their autobiographies by the time they are barely 20 years old. Some have written 4 different versions by the time they get to 40. So here am I at the age of 71 sharing my story, which covers a period of no more than 5 years. So I do understand the irony of my opinion of celebrities and them writing their autobiographies. When we give our lives to Jesus Christ, we become a new man or woman. So this is the story of the new me. And in many ways, I'm certain that it is only chapter 1 of that story. The story is one of naivety on my part, but also a thirst to learn more. But more importantly, it's a story of God's grace and His glory. I suppose I've always known that there is a God. However, I couldn't see or understand how He was my God. My only exposure to church was sporadic attendance of Sunday school when I was very young. After that, the occasional wedding or funeral as I got older. There was nothing that I could see which would attract me to church or motivate me to get to know Jesus. However, in 2014, I started walking out with Carol. Carol, who like myself, was widowed. Carol has been a Christian for many, many years, although at the time she was not attending church on a regular basis. Carol is a South African who, along with her family, talk openly about their faith. In my experience, this is just not the English way. One thing that struck me was the way they would thank God for their blessings. I couldn't understand this at the time because, to my mind, they'd just received a lucky break. Carol and I would talk about many things, but gradually, as I got to know her values and beliefs, I became more curious. I began to wonder just who is this person Jesus and how do I fit into the picture? A couple of times I dipped my toe into the church experience, attending a Christmas carol service and an Easter service at a local church. And then, I suppose in 2015, my curiosity got the better of me and I suggested to Carol that we should attend church together. We decided to go along to a church in Oxford, and the main reason that I suggested we attend a church 25 miles from our home was because Carol's son Warren and his wife Lisa and their family were involved in that particular church. I figured that at least we would know somebody there. Before the service started, Warren, who was operating the sound desk, warned me that I might find the music a bit loud. This was the first clue that church was not going to be how I imagined it would be. The church met in a cinema, so wooden pews were a thing of the past. The comfy seats were definitely a big plus. Then the worship band began to play. No little ladies sat in the front of an old church organ under towering pipes. This was a fully fledged rock band. In no time, youngsters were jumping up and down and people were raising their hands to the sky. There were no hymn books, but the words of the songs were projected onto a big screen. All this, of course, is the norm in lots of churches today. But to me, it was mind-blowing. The biggest surprise came when the pastor jumped onto the platform dressed in a t-shirt. Perhaps he had forgotten his dog collar. Up to this point, I was impressed with the church experience. Everything was to my liking. After all, I was around in the 60s. Music and dancing were my scene. But of course, this wasn't why God had placed Carol and myself in that particular church in Oxford on that Sunday. Through his pastor, God played the trump card, the Word of God. Projected on the screen was a Bible reading. It was from 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. The first surprise to me was that temptation in itself is not a sin. It's the way we react to temptation that is the problem. But there was good news. God gives us a way of escape. And it's never God who tempts us. I found this fascinating and was buzzing as I left the service and made my way to the coffee shop that was in the cinema foyer. Now, I was about to find out just how God speaks to us personally and in a way that we individually understand. He even appeals to our different senses of humour and our interests. As I queued to order a couple of lattes, I saw that they sold my favourite cake, Millionaires Shortcake. Even at the thought of it now, my mouth is watering. Naturally, I bought a slice, completely forgetting that at the time I was on a strict diet. I sat down, took a bite of the cake and was filled with guilt. This wasn't normal diet cheat guilt. I had plenty of experience of that, as I'm sure many of us have. No, this was serious, proper guilt. I thought, how did God know that my favourite cake would be on sale at that coffee shop? Plus, how did he know that I would be tempted only minutes after being so impressed by the message on temptation? I knew it wasn't God who had tempted me or put the cake there to tempt me. I'd done it all by myself. I should have looked at the way of escape. Christianity was certainly going to be a challenge. The following week we went along expecting more of the same. But this time at the end of the service, the pastor asked for anybody who wanted to give their life to Jesus and to let him into their hearts to raise their hands. Now, many times I've raised my hand to gain someone's attention. For instance, at school when I wanted to attract the teacher's attention, or later in life trying to catch the eye of a barmaid in order to be served a drink. But this was completely different. Jesus had my complete attention. He was talking directly to me. Come to me, Graham. Come to me now. I knew this was my opportunity. It was my chance to get to know Jesus. I flung my hand up and Carol did a double take, wondering, what is he doing now? And never have I wanted anything more than to get the attention of Jesus. And that was the start of this incredible story. Thank you for listening to this, the first chapter of my story. I hope that you join me again for chapter 2, and I'll see you then. God bless.